every Saturn aspect that dashes our dreams, there is a Neptune aspect that swoops in to build them right back up again. My name is Comet. This is Magic Monday, particularly your Magic Monday horoscope for the week of June 11th to June 18th, 2023, where we're covering, just as we do every single week, what is happening in the week ahead astrology. But what we really hone in on here on Magic Monday is how you are going to co-create with the week ahead astrology, how you're going to seize the celestial blessings of this week embedded within the Gemini New Moon, Mercury sextile Venus, and how you are going to navigate some of the cosmic pitfalls foretold by Mercury square Saturn, Saturn stationing retrograde, and Sun square Neptune. And isn't that just so on brand for Gemini season? Gemini is the twins. It's all about duality. And this is a week of duality. And duality can be helpful because truly in life, we cannot have the good without the bad. We cannot have the Neptune without the Saturn. And when you look at this astrology, it's almost like, you know, having an angel on one shoulder, a devil on the other, but instead it's Neptune on one shoulder and Saturn on the other. And neither is right. It's important to know neither is right. Saturn is whispering into your ear, telling you how everything is the worst, everything is horrible. In fact, you are horrible, you are awful. Here's all the mistakes that you made. Here's all the times that you were cringy. Here's all the times you did or said the wrong thing. You're the worst, it's the worst, I hate it, I hate it, I hate it. And Saturn is right about some things. Okay, Saturn is dispelling some valuable advice around where it is that we have messed up, where it is that we did make a mistake, where it is that we do need to clean up certain habits, where it is that we kind of do need to deal with past actions or settle our karma in a sense. Meanwhile, on our other shoulder, Neptune is whispering its own sweet nothings into our ear, telling us, don't listen to Saturn, everything is dreamy, everything is magical, you can do anything that you want, just escape into a fantasy, deal with all of your tasks and responsibilities tomorrow, nothing matters, it's all good, it's all good. Now, Neptune also has some good advice. It's important to envision the tomorrow. It's important to find the magic within the mundane. It's important to settle into these small moments, to be able to tune into the music and the art and the romance and all of these lovely experiences that make us feel connected to something bigger. Ultimately, while both planets are dispelling some good advice, you can't listen to either. Saturn is viewing the life through Saturnian glasses, so everything's worse, everything is negative. Are there a couple of constructively critical comments embedded? Sure. But ultimately, you cannot listen to the Saturn aspect that is telling you that you are the worst, it's the worst, it's all bad, you made a mistake, you're the worst. You can't listen to all of that. Meanwhile, yes, you should tune into Neptune, striving to find the beauty and the connection to your day-to-day, but you can't believe everything Neptune's telling you as well, because Neptune's selling you a bunch of pipe dreams, okay? So the challenge this week is to stay level-headed, to navigate both of these planetary energies, taking in the gems of wisdom of both, without allowing yourself to be completely swallowed up within this Saturnian stark reality, or this Neptunian dreamland. Neither is real, neither is accurate, neither is going to allow you to progress this week. It's about listening, hearing them both out, but at the end of the day, striving to check in with yourself, understand good or bad, everything is constantly in flux, continue navigating, taking the advice when it is relevant, when it is helpful, and really striving to find a balance of both the fantasy and the reality. That's going to be really important when it comes to this week's astrology, when it comes to this week's new moon and Gemini. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take it into vibe check of the week. So welcome to the segment of Magic Monday that gets you familiar with the overall big picture thematic vibe of the week ahead astrology. And how we do this is we essentially compare all of the astrological events of this week's astrology, from Mercury sextile Venus to Saturn stationing retrograde to Sun square Neptune. We essentially take all of those influences and compare them to a real life scenario, so that even if you don't understand the nuances of what the new moon in Gemini means, of what it means that Mercury in Gemini will square Saturn in Pisces, you have a big picture vibe to tune into, a scenario, an emotion, a visual that helps you hone in on how this energy may come to the surface within your world. So this week's vibe check of the week feels like making a mistake at work. And because it's Gemini season, I'm going to tell a story, but of course, fill in the details and the nuances based on your line of work, based on your industry. What would a mistake be? Would it be sending out the wrong product when somebody orders online? Would it be accidentally installing someone's fence backwards somehow? Would it be accidentally messing up on someone's taxes? What would a mistake be within your line of work? So fill in the details, whichever makes sense within your universe. For the sake of the vibe check, we are going to say that you are a marketing coordinator for a nail polish brand. Gemini rules the fingers and the hands. So we'll say it's for a nail polish brand. And the nail polish brand that you work for has a very different formula. It has a very different formula. It's like organic, it's good for you. There's something about it that's special. And you guys want people to change to it, like make the change. Once you start using our nail polish, it stays on longer, it's non-toxic, it has all these benefits for your nail beds. Everybody needs to change and try our stuff. It's different than anything else on the market. We have all these great colors, and you are in charge of social media and you're in charge of email marketing. And you all are doing a campaign all about the shift starts here, because it's saying once you shift to our brand of nail polish, you will never go back. Once you get your hands, Gemini rules hands, on our non-toxic, organic, healthy, beautiful nail polish, you will never go back. So it's all about make the shift, make the shift. And you are going in on this email newsletter. You are triple checking and writing over and over, double checking the copy, double checking all of the links, making sure all of the photos are right. You guys made this really cool GIF that basically shows somebody grabbing out the old nail polish and putting in your guys' nail polish, because it's like the shift starts here. We are changing to this new nail polish. You're double checking all of the links. You're checking all of the photos. The links are all working. The promo code's working. You already have stayed late. It's about like 6:30. Typically you leave the office at 5. You have to make your way over to a birthday dinner. So you're checking over. Good to go. You schedule it for the following morning. You feel good about it, and you go out to dinner with your friends. The next morning, you wake up to missed calls, to freaked out texts, to emails. And so you're like, what went wrong? What do you mean? I got the campaign approved. I got the promo codes approved. The photos were all approved. The copy was approved. What went wrong? What went wrong? And keep in mind, you had a couple margaritas at dinner with the girls the night before. So you're kind of like in a state like, oh my gosh, what possibly happened? You look at the email yourself. And you're looking at the body, you're looking at the copy, you're looking at the photos, you're like, everything looks great. And then you look at the subject line. And instead of it saying, the shift starts here, the shift to our nail polish, you forgot, in the word shift, you forgot an F. So the subject line reads, the blank starts here. And you are mortified. You know that feeling when you've been looking at something for so long that you cannot see it clearly? That's why when I worked in marketing, like, it's so important to get other people's eyes on it, because when you're so zeroed in on something, you miss out on those most obvious mistakes. You just completely don't even notice it because you've been looking at it for so long. And you need to go into the office knowing that you sent to your guys's, we'll say 50,000 customer base, you sent an email that says profanity in the subject line and also tells people that they could possibly, if they try your nail polish brand. And you are mortified. You do not even want to go into the office. You start daydreaming like, I just need a new job. I can't work in marketing anymore. I can't show my face. But you know, you just need to suck it up. And so you get to the office. You are just mortified. Understandably, your boss calls you in. You're like, am I going to lose my job? And you just take accountability. I am so sorry. I should have double checked the subject line. The email looked perfect, but of course I messed up the subject line. And you essentially take your boss. You're like, hey, I can't take it back. I can't take the email back, but here are the ways, here are the systems that we're going to get into place to make sure it never happens again. I'm going to make sure that I get the entire test over to 2 different people in the marketing department to proofread all of it, check all of it, subject line improved. We're going to send an apology newsletter out to our 50,000 subscribers apologizing for the mistake, and we are going to fix this. This is a new start for new protocols in the marketing department, and your boss appreciates that. Like, you didn't lose your job. Yes, it was an embarrassing mistake, but you go to send the apology newsletter, or at least start drafting it. It's gonna make sure that it goes through multiple checks from here on out, and you check the analytics. And that email had an insane open rate, like 75% open rate. Like industry standards typically like 20 to 30, and this is like 70. So like a lot of the email newsletter opened it. So you take this to your boss and you're like, hey, okay, hear me out. We can either apologize, say it was a typo, or what if we built off this and formulated a new brown nail polish? I'm so sorry. This is like so gross. I swear I never like plan these before I sit down. I just sit down and I vibe and I look at the energy and I chat about what comes to the surface. So I'm sorry if anybody's eating. But essentially your boss gets down with it. They look at the analytics and they're like, holy cow, we got a lot of eyeballs on this. You guys connect with the social department. You guys plan a whole campaign. It's trending on Twitter. Everybody thinks it's hysterical. The shade name is the mistaken subject line, and it actually ends up a major boost in the company. So not only do you have this new start around enhanced protocols with Saturn station retrograde, a lot of us are reviewing what are the protocols in place within my life. Maybe it's not getting multiple checks when you send out an email newsletter, but maybe it's like reviewing your boundaries, the boundaries that you have in place. Maybe it's reviewing your habits. Maybe it's reviewing your discipline. There is a call with Saturn station retrograde to review our actions and if they're getting us to where it is that we want to go. If we have the appropriate rules in place, the appropriate oversight in place, that is something that is up for review. And like I said, with the Gemini new moon, there is a new start. So not just a new start for your marketing department, like, okay, we need to fix this problem. Let's make sure we get multiple eyeballs, but also that we're able to take the lemons. That's Mercury square Saturn. That's the moment when you read that subject line and you're like, oh no. That's that moment when you're at work and you make that mistake, or that's that moment when you get that really bad feedback and you're like, oh my gosh. But I'll let you know, the story doesn't stop there. With Mercury then sextiling Venus, there is an opportunity that we can take those lemons and turn them into lemonade, or at least laugh at it, okay? With Mercury and Gemini season, it's important to laugh at the snafus and what comes up, to not take it personally as well. You missing an F does not say anything personally about you as a person. It sucks to make mistakes at work. I hate it so much. But at the end of the day, it is something that we all do, and all we can do is move forward. All we can do is send out that apology newsletter. All we can do is formulate a new nail polish color and pretend that it's simply part of a new campaign. All we can do is take what's come up and integrate it for a new start, kind of embedded within the new moon. Now, like I said, there's some delusional energy embedded within this week's astrology. I kind of peppered that in within the vibe check around you drank a lot of margaritas, so you're not really in clear state of mind in regards to all of this. But again, you can't believe the Saturn that's telling you you're gonna lose your job, you're the worst, how did you forget the F? Because you're human, you made a mistake. But you also need to be cautious not to listen to the Neptune around, it's fine, schedule it. You're almost late to dinner with your friends, you need a drink, just schedule it, just schedule it. You need a balance of both being very realistic, being very practical, being very discerning about the details, while also trying not to sweat the small stuff. Like Neptune is all about a spiritual connection. Like in the grand scope of things, people are going to forget that you accidentally had a typo in a subject line. If anybody else works in marketing, has worked in marketing, you know a lot of times things can feel so intense. It could feel like end of the world. And there's always like a moment like, I'm doing marketing for a nail polish company. Like we are not saving lives. I'm doing marketing for an Irish pub. I'm doing marketing for a bookstore. But at the end of the day, Neptune's like, hey, we are just a soul. And this is just a nail polish company. Life goes on, okay? So it's important to keep those energies in balance. So before we take it into our day-by-day analysis of this week's astrology, let me know what you all are sipping on to start your week or eating to start your week. I hope you didn't lose the appetite from the rather crude vibe check of the week. I apologize if it's your first time. Normally I'm not so gross, I swear, but Gemini season, it is important to laugh, have a little wordplay, you know? But today I'm just drinking a regular old cup of joe, just a cup of coffee, a little bit of almond milk in there. I feel like I let you guys down when I don't have a fun drink. I'm so sorry. Just coffee today in my beat up NASA cup. But Cheers, my loves. And then just a couple of quick notes. I am located in California, so I utilize the time zone PDT. Please adjust to your time zone before putting any of the dates that I mentioned into your planner, into your calendar. I want to let you know you can shift the playback speed to your liking by clicking the gear icon. You can speed me up, you can slow me down, whatever suits you. And there's also timestamps below if you want to jump to a particular day or jump back to a particular day. So let's go ahead and take it into our astrology forecast for Monday, June 12th. I think I said 11th earlier. Not me having a vibe check about making a mistake at work and then I make a mistake at work. What's wrong with me? I hate it when Mercury's not retrograde because then I have nothing to blame. So annoying. And I could dub it over, but I just feel like it's so obvious every time I dub. It's like, hey guys, welcome to Magic Monday. Welcome to your forecast for June 12th to June 18th. Like, I just feel like you can tell. So sorry about that. Guess it's on brand that I made a mistake at work this week. So let's go ahead and take it into the astrology forecast for Monday, June 12th. So on Monday, the moon is in Aries all day long, which is confident, it is courageous, it is independent, it's a self-starter, especially since it trines its ruler, Mars, in Leo. And this is really like waking up and just wanting to seize the week. Like, this is a great start to the week around wanting to like jump out of bed, work out, go into the office. Like, you know, if you can actually get up and go to a workout class or work out before work, you feel like you can handle anything that throws your way. You walk into that office with your head held high, maybe your smoothie in one hand, coffee in the other. That's always how I'd roll up into work. And your hair is still wet because you showered after the workout, and you just have all these endorphins pumping through you, and you're like, yes, emails, tweets, Instagram posts, let's do this. I used to work in social media. You could definitely tell within this week's vibe check. There's definitely a vibe around really just wanting to seize the week, like just wanting to grab our to-dos by the hand. So I'd definitely say harness this confident energy. If you happen to be watching on Sunday, this would be a great day to set your alarm early and just jump on the task. Like, there will be an energy around feeling more confident. Like, again, when you wake up, when you get out of bed, when you open your eyes and it's still dark outside and you shimmy your way to that workout class and then you break a sweat, even when it's hard, you do not give up and you leave the class and it's 7 a.m. and everybody's still asleep. There is a vibe around being like, I might be better than everybody. I might be better than everybody. I might be the best person in the world, actually. Like, did y'all get up at 6? Were y'all on the berries treadmills? I don't think so. Then at lunch break, being able to like sit around with your coworkers eating salad and be like, yeah, well, I was at Barry's this morning, like just dropping in, like, yeah, I made it there before the office. I made it there before the office. And you really do have a good day. And the thing is, there's a very confident start to the week. And again, sometimes it's helpful to do things that charge up our life force. Maybe for you, that's not working out. Maybe it's doing something creative like before work. Maybe after work, you're always like too tired to, set aside time to work on your piano skills or what have you. Maybe this would be a time around waking up early and practicing, although your neighbors might not be too happy about that. But whatever it is, doing something that charges your life force and just makes you walk into this week like, hell yeah, I got this. I can do anything. Now, here's the thing. Like I said, all things in balance this week, all things in duality. When you are walking out of that workout class and you're like, I might be the best person ever. I might be better than everybody. Like, I got up early, I did a workout class, and now I'm making my way to work. It's like, that's not true. You're not better than anybody just because you made it to the workout class. Yes, it's important to feel confident about ourselves, but with the Aries moon then meeting up with Chiron, it's like a midday moment where all of a sudden you got bad feedback on something, or you got a text that didn't make you particularly happy, where something at work happens, you lost a client at your social media agency or what have you, and you went from like, I might be the best person ever to like, I might be horrible. Like, should I be allowed to exist? Again, all things in balance. Seize those moments of confidence when you're feeling yourself, but know that you're really not better than anybody else just because you got out of bed and made your way to overpriced fitness class. Like, it truly does not mean that. I'm glad you made yourself feel good. But again, all things in balance. But then again, when you're feeling bad about yourself, that's not true either. Like, it's just important to witness the highs and lows this week and understand the truth is somewhere in the middle, right? And it's just so important with the spirit of duality to understand things are constantly in flux. Things are constantly changing. So it's so important to know that you are not God. When things go well, when you actually listen to your alarm and you get up to go to that workout class before work and you just feel like you can take on everything, You are not God. You are not better than anybody. And when you drop a client at work, you're also not the worst person ever. The truth is in the middle. So it's just really, being happy when things are going well, but understanding it doesn't make you God. It doesn't make you invincible. But also understanding when you're feeling down in the dumps, understanding you're not the worst person ever and things will balance out again. So all things in balance. Seize the confident energy of Monday, but, try not to puff your feathers up too much. Not everybody in the office needs to know that you went to Barry's this morning. And then that evening around 8:59 p.m. PDT, the Aries moon sextiles Gemini sun. So I do want to say this can be an energy to try something new, particularly with a friend, go to a networking event. Again, the energy of Aries moon is about novelty, new experiences, and the energy of Gemini sun is about making new connections. So this would be a great time to, put yourself out there, to say yes to that invitation, go to that networking event, maybe even learn something new. The connection of these two signs very much gives beginner's mind, which was also sort of an energy that we were navigating over the weekend as well, with the Gemini sun sextiling Chiron in Aries. By the way, last week's Magic Monday, if you want to get caught up, reminisce on last week. But with this, I do want to let you know, you have a pass this week. I know last week I was like, you gotta go and socialize with all of the people. It's Gemini season, say yes to all the invitations. And certainly if you're up for it, please do. But there also could be a call to do your own thing. Like the moon is in Aries, and also the moon all week until Saturday night, Sunday morning, depending on where you are in the world, until that new moon on the weekend, the moon's light is waning. And when the moon's light is waning, we are in the waning crescent moon phase, also known as the balsamic moon. Not the vinaigrette, balsamic moon. And this is a moon phase that is about coming inward. It is about contemplation. It is about releasing. It is about really introspecting. So I don't want you to pressure yourself around feeling like you need to say yes to everything if you're just feeling very low energy, if you're really reflecting, if you're really wanting to come inward. Embrace that call. It means you're in tune with the moon. So on Tuesday, June 13th, we have a rather intense start to the day. The moon is building to square off with Pluto, who has recently re-entered Capricorn. And this is an energy in which you could be feeling things very intensely. You can be feeling fear from authority figures really intensely. Again, this is like sort of symbolic of the vibe, embedded in the vibe check around you're so scared for this meeting. This email blast went out to 50,000 subscribers. You can't take it back and you're like, am I gonna get fired? There can be some anxiety about work or the state of your work or something of that nature. There can also just be power struggles with authority figures or just with people in your life, honestly. Moon also has to do with maternal themes, so even with mom figures in your life or just women in general within your life. With the energy of the square to Pluto, it can also just be kind of like anxiety, feeling really intense and not exactly being sure why. Power struggles around your boss thinks you should work on this, but you would rather work on this. There's an intense anxiety kind of in the morning. Maybe it's like walking to the office being like, oh, I have a meeting. I hope I'm not getting laid off. Or like, oh, we lost that client. Now I have a meeting. What's going to be the feedback? There can be anxiety, or there could be a vibe where it's like, oh, this meeting's on my schedule. My boss is always trying to control my life. This is so obnoxious. Again, the energy of Aries moon can sometimes be a little rebellious. I want to do my own thing. Don't micromanage me. Let me do my own thing. Let me be my own self. And again, you could be feeling this, whether it's at work or in another avenue of your life, kind of like power struggles. Other people want you to do this, you want to do this. The day doesn't finish like that though. The moon then enters Taurus at 11:31 a.m. And because Pluto is at such a late degree of Capricorn, and that's the closing aspect, we really only have like a 4-minute long void moon. The moon's void from 11:27 a.m. to 11:31 a.m. So just in case you need to schedule an email newsletter of your own or schedule an interview or something important, try not to do it between those times. When the moon's void, important tasks we must avoid. And then the moon enters Taurus at 11:31, which is very grounded. It's very steady. It's almost like that energy when you're like, okay, this was the worst, but what can we do? What's our game plan? What's our step forward, right? I find that Taurus energy is able to sort of keep perspective around, okay, it's not the end of the world. What can we do to move forward? What are our next steps? So with the moon in Taurus, you can find that you are proceeding with your day at a more slow and steady rate. Again, with the Aries moon the day prior and even in the morning time, it was like everything needed to be done yesterday, right? Which, like we know from this week's vibe check, sometimes when you're in a rush, you miss important details, okay? So again, with the moon in Taurus, slow down, ground down, one step at a time. It is all in the workflow. I love that word, workflow. It is all in the workflow. Everything will get done. Just handle this task and this task. Staying on track may be a challenge as the Taurus moon is building to conjoin Jupiter. So this is like an energy when you're meant to be working, but you're kind of just online shopping for a bikini for your vacation next month. You're meant to be working, but you're actually just looking at the menu of the restaurant that you and your partner are going to the next night. It's like this energy where you're there, you'll reply to a thing or two, you're waving your mouse so that your chat, Slack or GChat or whatever's being used these days is active, but you know, you've got some tabs open. You've got some tabs open. You are plodding through, yes, your tasks at work, but you're taking little breaks for your bikini and for your menu and whatnot. And also with the energy of Moon and Jupiter, you could be planning about the future, feeling optimistic about the future. Tuesday night would be a great time to do something fun, do something expansive. If you do have some control over your work schedule, I would say Tuesday would be a great day to do something at least a little bit like adventurous, like if you have to do any sort of client visits, or if you have to take any sort of photos. If you work for yourself and you have to do some big picture planning, that's all super supported because we have the very grounded, earthy energy of Taurus with the optimistic energy of Jupiter. Really harmonious balance. This energy always makes me think of my old job, which a lot of this vibe check is inspired by. It was not a nail polish company and I never made that mistake, thank goodness. But I worked in marketing, social media to be specific, and we did marketing for bars and restaurants within San Diego. I loved that job, especially the days when we got to do client visits because we would just photograph all of this food for, you know, content, doing all sorts of like boomerangs and stuff of like drinks and whatnot. And yes, we would have to like take a lot of photos of the food, but like after we would be able to eat and hang out, and like holidays were so much fun. Like every single holiday, St. Patrick's Day or whatever, we would like dress up and take photos and shoot content and go to all the places and like drink green beer. Like there would be many times that I'm like, am I really getting paid for it? Like it was such a fun job. Like granted, there were a lot of moments staying late, high stress, events, things of nature, but client visit days were so much fun. Taking content, taking photos, making boomerangs, drinking green beer. I was having myself a ball. It was a great time. And I think with the energy of Moon, Jupiter, it's a great day to do something like that, where it's like kind of a disruption from the mundane that allows you to see some new sights, to go some new places, to try some new food, what have you. So if you have some leeway within your schedule, great day for that. If anybody out there also does social media marketing for restaurants and bars, that would be a great day to bucket those tasks. So even if you don't have leeway over your schedule and you don't have a job that just requires you to pop into restaurants to take photos of their food and whatnot, I would just say with Moon Jupiter, it's a great time to be realistically optimistic about your future, or to do things that fill you up or do things that make you feel valued. It's a great self-care day, honestly. So if anybody's not working on Tuesday, it'd be a great time to get a manicure, get a pedicure, and try the new nail polish shade foretold within Vibe Check of the Week. No, just kidding. Like I said, with waning crescent moon, it's time to come inward. What is it that you need to give to yourself? And with the energy of Moon and Jupiter in Taurus, what do you need to do to pamper yourself? Like Tuesday night would be great to do something fun, you know, to go out, Taco Tuesday, or go for a long walk in the park, enjoy some nature, just do something fun, okay? Because yes, we have this energy of Jupiter, we're wanting to expand, we're wanting to live life, we're wanting to nurture ourselves, make ourselves feel valued. But I will say, so we are building to Jupiter sextile Saturn. It exacts next week. So when the moon meets up with Jupiter, it then sextiles Saturn, which sort of keeps the Jupiter energy in check. So it's not like what we had over the weekend, which PS, I would love to hear. How did you feel Venus square Jupiter? How much did you spend? How much did you eat? How much did you drink? Like that was a very overdoing excess energy. This isn't that. Like certainly with the energy of Moon and Taurus, we want to enjoy ourselves. We want, you know, spa day. We want to vibe. We want to eat. But with the Moon then sextiling Saturn, it's all kind of in some sort of balance. Like it's not kind of getting out of control. It's like, you know, just 2 entrees is fine. We don't need 12. That kind of energy. So on Wednesday, June 14th, the vibe is very, how am I meant to slay in these conditions? There's something very irritating about Wednesday's astrology. And granted, the day starts out with the hardworking, productive aspect of the Taurus moon sextiling Saturn. Happens a little after midnight. Like I said, it happens after the moon meets up with Jupiter. So it's sort of chilling out the exuberant energy of Jupiter, where it's like, yes, let's have fun. Let's be at the restaurant, eat food, but let's get our work done, right? Let's look on Pinterest about our next trip, but let's make sure it's in the budget. Like, it's a nice balance of optimism, but also realism. And that happens early, very early, around midnight. So there is a vibe on Wednesday, if you're awake for it, of course, around, okay, I'm gonna get up and make my dreams, that's Saturn and Pisces, a reality, Taurus moon. I'm gonna step by step make them happen. Now, the Taurus moon squares Venus and Leo, so some of you could have dreamt about an ex. Just warning you, next week, Venus enters pre-retrograde shadow, okay? So the planet of love is entering terrain it will traverse back through. So this is my official cosmic caution that you might dream about an ex or two. You could run into an ex or two. Now, I will have a video this Friday detailing everything that you need to know about Venus retrograde, because yes, it is a time in which we can run into or be contemplating exes from the past. No, it is not your celestial permission slip to get back with them. Seriously, Venus retrograde can be such a healing, clarifying time if you lean into it. And certain signs will be dealing with more X themes than others. Some of us will be working through our finances, what have you. Make sure to check back on my channel this Friday when that will be posted collectively as well as sign by sign. Hi, please excuse the brief interruption. I just want to highlight that this is the last week that we have before Venus enters her pre-retrograde shadow, Monday the 19th. What this means for you is that if there is important matters that you need to handle around Venusian affairs, so that is love, beauty, money, I would strive to handle them this week. It's not rushing, again, slow and steady is the vibe, but if you need to propose to somebody, if you need to open a new bank account or handle something financially, if you need to dye your hair a new funky color that you've never done before, I would strive to handle it this week, because as we move into next week, Venus will repeat these degrees essentially. So if there is something where it's like, I don't want to have to redo this bank account, I don't want to have to review our proposal, I don't want to have to redo this hair, I would strive to handle it this week. What I want to say here is that just with the Taurus moon squaring Venus in Leo, middle of the night, there just could be a dream about a current partner, past partner, anything of that nature. And the Taurus moon, Venus in Leo, Mars in Leo, we want to slay. We want to look good, especially with that Taurus moon squaring off with its ruler. So this could be a vibe on Wednesday where you're wanting to get ready, you're wanting to feel dressed up, you're wanting to go into the office looking cute, ready to go. Yes, this can make us a little bit hedonistic, a little bit lazy. You might be moving kind of slow in the morning, running a little bit late, listening to music, putting on your makeup and looking at the clock and be like, oh, that's interesting. I was supposed to be in the office 10 minutes ago. Whoopsie, at least I'm gonna look cute. And then the day gets very irritating because the Taurus moon squares Mars and Leo. So it's very much that energy of how am I meant to slay in these conditions? Because the day kind of started off with the sextile to Saturn squaring Venus around. We want to look cute. We want to, look good to feel good, to have good results. We want to, slay and have fun. And then it just feels like things are cramping your style, okay? There can be coworkers that are sort of irritating you. There can be factors at work that it's like, oh, this is so annoying. Why was I assigned this? People could be rushing you and it's just really annoying you. There's just a lot of frustrations. And you know what I love about Cheating Magic Monday is when the vibe of the day that I'm talking about makes its way into my reality as I'm talking about it. Like, this is the second time I've been chatting through Wednesday's astrology, because the first time all of these garbage trucks came. I'm not kidding, 3 or 4 garbage trucks came in a row, back to back. And granted, I'm so grateful. I am so grateful that we live in a world where people will come and pick up the trash, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful, but it's so loud. I cannot film if they are getting the trash. It's so loud. You can hear it when I'm filming. Okay, I can. How much trash? I literally can't. Oh my God. So I was like, okay, whatever. So I paused, I was just messing around, and then my battery died. So then I went to go switch out the batteries. Of course, I didn't charge the other camera battery, so I had to wait for that to charge, and now I'm running late. And it's just how am I meant to slay in these conditions? And now there's a fly in here. How did a fly get in here? Just sometimes life is so annoying. And with the Taurus moon and Venus and Mars and Leo, we are just so like personally offended that these inconveniences are happening, right? Like Leo is the archetype of the king and the queen, being like, why would a queen have to wait for the garbage trucks to leave for me to continue filming? Why would a queen have to deal with the fly in the room? Like, how am I meant to slay in these conditions? First world problems, not a big deal. But there's almost this like superiority vibe on Wednesday. We're irritated and things feel very beneath us. We're very annoyed by the little things and not being just so. Because again, these are fixed energies. The Taurus moon squaring off with Venus and squaring off with Mars. So fixed energy is stubborn. You know, it's rigid. It wants things a particular way, their way. Like, you know that about Taurus energy and Leo energy, right? So there's some irritation within the cosmos. Also feels to be an energy around trying to make other people the problem. That's something that we do when like we make a mistake. We're like, okay, who could I blame for this? So, you know, that email blast went out. There's that unfortunate typo in the subject line. It's like, well, obviously it's Charlotte's fault because Charlotte left the office an hour before I did and didn't stick around to help me proofread. So obviously it's Charlotte's fault. Like looking for somebody else to blame, right? Like for me, I'm trying to blame, you know, the garbage truck and I'm trying to blame the fly. But truthfully, I'm my own role. I did not charge my camera battery, which is shocking because I very much have it in my workflow to always charge that after it's done. So I don't know how that happened. And it's hard to take accountability to be like, okay, I screwed up. I didn't see that typo in the subject line. I didn't charge my battery. I didn't take into account this new day that I'm filming on and that this is the day that all the trash gets collected. We're not wanting to take accountability. There's almost a vibe where we want to like make other people the problem around, this is my coworker's fault that this happened. I have new neighbors and she's so loud. She's so loud. She's like a cute, sweet girl around my age, but like there used to be men who lived above me, men, and I never heard them step. And this sweet, like 5'2" girl, do you hear that? It sounds like fee fi fo fum. It like the loudest steps that I've ever heard. It can be very frustrating. It's like we want to blame it on all these circumstances and little things can be annoying you. Like this could be a hangry vibe. This could be you're trying to slay and do your work, but the air conditioning feels too cold or your sweater feels itchy. Like we just feel overstimulated and blah and annoyed and we want to make other people the problem and we want other people to hear about it. With the Taurus moon squaring Venus in the morning, it's kind of like a lazy vibe, it's an indulgent vibe, it's an excessive vibe, right? We're wanting to eat a lot of sweet things, text sweet nothings to our lover. We're wanting to get ready and not really being as concerned with the to-dos. Like there is this vibe where we're in our queen era. We're just like, I'm just here to look cute and just do a little typey type and then I'm gonna leave. So again, you can find that you're more likely to be motivated by pleasure rather than the task. And again, with the square to Mars and Leo, you could make other people the problem. Let's say you kind of wasted the first 3 hours at work. You finally start on something that your coworker comes in like, hey, can you help with this? And you're like, how dare Charles ask me for help? Like, can't you see I'm busy? Even though you wasted 3 of your hours. But again, being mindful of where it is that you are trying to make other people the problem. Take accountability where you can. So all I'm saying is prepare for that on Wednesday and all we can do is carry on because you need to also know that the next day is when Mercury square Saturn exacts. And this is sort of providing some negativity to our mindset where again, we are making these things worse than they actually are. Like, is it the end of the world that I had to wait for my camera battery to charge and that I might be a little late to dinner tonight? Not the end of the world. I'm actually very grateful that the garbage truck came. This fly is living his truth. The battery, I messed up on. It goes on. At least I have one battery to film on. Like, we just gotta keep it going and we're just not really seeing the perspective or the nuance. We're sort of seeing everything as the worst thing ever. And when there's like a lot of little things that are, you know, building up, it could just be so annoying. Like you spilled and then you tripped and then this, like just all these little things are building up and we're just like wanting to scream. So all I'm saying on Wednesday is tread carefully, keep perspective. We're not seeing things clearly. It's not the end of the world. Learn what it is that you can. I've learned not to film on this day. This is when all the garbage trucks came. I've learned always make sure both batteries are charged. I don't know what the takeaway for the fly is. He's still really annoying me, but It's Gemini season. Take the data where you can. And on that note of feistiness, we're also reactive, right? So we're feeling overstimulated. It's hot. We're hangry. We're annoyed. Charles is asking us for stuff. And with the moon building, so it's squared off with Mars and it's building to conjoin Uranus, we just want to explode. Like, Charles, get out of here. Like, I want to explode at the fly, at the garbage trucks, at the battery. It's just like when a lot of little things are annoying and that final thing happens that just puts you over the edge, you just get so frustrated. So again, mind the tempers, mind the outbursts, take a deep breath. Cool, this battery's gonna die too. Life. Gotta love it. Got to love it. Are you? The trash is here. So I just came back because the camera battery died again. And the moment I sat down and hit record, the trash is here. You have to laugh. Like, I'm telling you guys, Mercury squares Saturn this week. So there's gonna be inconveniences. There's going to be snafus. You're going to probably be late to dinner. I know for sure tonight I am. Things happen. The trash needs to come. Also, someone's vacuum in the hallway. Life is so annoying, but all we can do is laugh. Do you hear this person vacuuming? Oh my God. And I know you guys say like, oh, we can't hear it. It's just like me, I get so overstimulated when there's a lot of different sounds going on. Like, there's too much happening in my brain. But what can we do? All we can do is laugh and carry on. It's the Gemini way. So on Thursday, the 15th, Mercury, the planet of thought processes, of intellect, squares off with Saturn in Pisces, which is the signature ouch. This is the signature constructive criticism aspect where, yes, you know, Saturn on our shoulder, it is dispelling good advice. It is wise, sage advice. Do we want to hear it? Not necessarily. Does it kind of sting a little bit? Absolutely. Are we being a bit too negative? Yes. Just because somebody gives you negative feedback on a yoga class that you teach, or on an email campaign that you drafted up, or a negative comment on social media, it's important to understand that has nothing to do with you. We are in an air sign season. Detachment is very important. And we have Venus and Mars in Leo. Leo is a fiery essence. Burn it away. Take it as data. Take it as valuable insights. Burn away the personal attachment around this is something about me. My love, it is a nail polish company. That typo's embarrassing, but everyone will forget about it in 2 weeks. It's not the end of the world. We all make mistakes. Even if the entire email newsletter was flawless, and the links were all perfect, and you did the promo code, you're gonna obsess about the one thing that went wrong. You know this, like you've probably been in circumstances where you get all of this great feedback, but the one that sticks in your mind is that person who said, oh, it's okay. Or, yeah, that was very interesting. Or this could have been better. That's all you harp, you tune out the good. And that's what's challenging on Thursday, is that we could just be in more so of a negative frame of mind. There might have been one thing that threw off your day that just puts you into a entirely bad mood where you're just like, everything is the worst. Because I'm telling you, it's like a snowball, right? Like for me, filming this video has been such a struggle. Oh my gosh. But you know, for me, already in a bad mood, garbage trucks made it worse. Battery made it worse. Fly, making it worse. Like again, we snowball and then we're like, oh great, of course I spill. Of course this happens. My life is the worst. This is so annoying. It's not. We're making inconveniences a big deal. I am so grateful that I have a place where people come and get the trash. I'm so grateful that somebody is dedicated to their home's cleanliness and is vacuuming right now. I'm so grateful that I have 2 batteries where I can, you know, charge one while I'm filming on the other. Gratitude practice might be helpful. Again, you could be very like grumpy cat and it might be very hard to find one thing that you're grateful for. But again, just like negative emotions could be a snowball where you keep picking up more and more that you're upset about, so can positive emotions. Reach for little things, like reach for little things as they're available. Like, dang, my day sucked. I made a huge mistake at work, but at least my lunch was delicious. Just one step. Ouch, I got really bad feedback from my boss, but I didn't lose my job. Those little pieces. And I want to let you know, we will all make mistakes. We will all make mistakes. As a Virgo moon, I'm personally offended and horrified that mistakes are even allowed, that they are even a thing. I don't know who allowed this. No matter what job you are in, there will be little things, there will be little errors, and you could beat yourself up about it, or you can just take the lesson. Again, Gemini is all about the student. Take the lesson, keep it moving. Laugh if you can. In a week's time, you'll look at that subject line and laugh. You'll be able to laugh about it. At the time, it can feel like the end of the world. You feel like it says something about you personally. It does not. Keep it moving. Take it as a lesson. Keep it moving. Now, if you do mess up at work, you know, it's never helpful to go into it like into hysterics, like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. This is the worst thing. Like, all you can do is just address, hey, I made this mistake. This is what I'm going to do to fix it. And this is how we are going to prevent it from happening in the future. That's all your authority figures and your bosses want to know, is that there's a plan. And with Mercury, Saturn, truly criticism is how we grow. Like, I guarantee you that in that vibe check, you will always check the subject lines. You will always check the subject lines. You always remember what you messed up on. Have you guys found that? Oh, like spelling bees. You always remember the word that you got knocked out of the spelling bee. I actually want to know if you guys remember the word. For me, we didn't do spelling bee, we did state capital B, and I got knocked out from New Jersey. It's Trenton. I'll never forget that. I will never forget that because that's where I messed up. We learn a lot from our mistakes. And like I said, over the weekend, Mercury sextiles Venus. There might be some sweetness in this. Maybe a new nail polish color. Maybe a new idea emerges from this blah situation. Again, all you can do, take the lesson, keep it moving. If you ever do make a mistake at work, you don't need to, beat yourself up and be like, I feel so bad. Like, again, it's a nail polish company. It's not the end of the world. You gotta keep it moving. You cannot keep beating yourself up about mistakes. I also want to say, outside of mistakes, this could also show up around just bad news, around someone being a little harsh with you. Like you wearing your skirt as a tube top. And someone saying, why the hell are you wearing your skirt as a tube top, you weirdo? And it's kind of like, ouch, I'm not allowed to wear skirts as tube tops. And yes, just a PS, this is a skirt. All I'm saying is if you get bored with your clothes, put a skirt on as a shirt. Instant tube top, instant dress. I don't know. I know no one notices. I know not a soul would ever notice. But me, I don't want to repeat outfits on Magic Monday. I know no one would notice. And I'm really not like a fast fashion girly. I really don't buy a lot of clothes. The clothes that I do have, like this was thrifted. Most of my clothes are honestly hand-me-downs from my friends. I'm the girl who will accept your hand-me-downs. I love hand-me-downs. They have a story to tell, okay? And I'm here to tell that story. But yeah, so I try not to buy a lot of new things, but for some reason in my mind, I'm like, I don't want to film in the same thing on Magic Monday. So you gotta get creative. You have to wear a skirt as a shirt every so often. All I'm saying, try it. Don't knock it until you try it. You can get some cute little dresses and tube tops, repurposing your skirts. But let's say you debut it, again, with Venus and Mars. We could be more bold with our fashion. We could be more like, look at me, with our fashion. And then someone's like, that looks so ugly. Like, you look freaking ridiculous. Or maybe, you're having a conversation with your spouse and you're like, what if we could go to Morocco and we could do this and this? And they're like, no, that's not going to happen. Like, dashing your dreams a little bit. And you're like, I was so excited. Like, why can't we go to Morocco? There's just a harshness to words and to our mental space. We're being so rooted in reality that we're forgetting that big picture, it's not that big a deal. Big picture, you will live if that person didn't like your tube top skirt. Big picture, maybe you guys can plan to go to Morocco in the future. We're taking it very personally and we're feeling very limited and we're feeling very negative. So that's just the energy I want you to be conscious of as you move through Thursday. You gotta just keep it moving. And you gotta be mindful not to have an outburst very, very early, like at 1:55 a.m. The moon does meet up with Uranus, which can make our emotions very volatile. Again, you saw me freaking out from the garbage truck and all of the noises. Again, we could just be wanting to explode. We're so frustrated. And again, when you make a mistake and the day prior was the energy where you're looking for someone to blame, and there's just the energy where you just feel like you let yourself down. You're just beating yourself up about it. You can't believe it. You are a human. You will make mistakes. All you can do is learn from it and keep it going. All you can do is hone on to those feelings of gratitude or what is going well, even if they're slim, even if they're so small. Like, even if it's just a little thing, like I am grateful that I had water today to drink. Like little things, just honing in, because Saturn's in your ear saying everything is the worst. Everything is the worst. You're a failure. You'll never have a job again. Everyone's going to know you as the blank starts here girl. But again, that's not the truth. You can take where it's saying, hey, you should double check your emails. You could take where it says, hey, you should make sure your batteries are charged. Hey, maybe the tube top skirt is a little weird. You can take the constructive criticism where it fits, but also know you're not seeing the world clearly. Mercury is how we view the world. You're zeroing in on everything that is wrong. And honestly, from a lunar perspective, Thursday's astrology is not that bad. So there might be a bummer, but it does feel like you're kind of like grounded within your emotions and being able to attune to, okay, it's not the big of a deal. Like there is kind of that support within the cosmos. Again, I feel like you're going to be feeling that negative energy of Mercury square Saturn really building on Wednesday. Thursday, it's like, yeah, this sucks. Yeah, this isn't working. Yeah, that was a little harsh. But with the Taurus moon, you know, we're grounded, we're dealing with things one step at a time. Yes, it conjoins Uranus, which can make us a little emotionally volatile. So again, we could be really stressed when we initially learn about this, but we have some anchored energy to process it. Like with the Taurus moon, sextile Neptune and Pisces, great day if you are frustrated with something at work or wherever it is that you are, great day to take a moment, breathe. You know, when you're kind of like upset about something and someone's like, breathe, you get so frustrated. You're like, I don't want to be told to breathe, just because you don't want to be told anything, right? But it does help. Your body needs the breath. There's a reason why people say that. When you get stressed, your breathing gets more shallow, and breath will help you calm down. Although never tell someone when they're upset to calm down. Tell them to breathe. Your body needs the oxygen to regulate you at that moment. And also with the Taurus moon, trining Pluto and Capricorn, that's the energy around, okay, let's take this into our hands. What are we going to do about it? Okay, this email went out to 50,000 people. How are we going to fix it? Okay, we got this feedback. What are we going to do to move forward, to powerfully move forward? And just with the energy of Taurus moon, don't forget to eat, rest, nap. Like when you're not taking care of your body, you can blow these things sort of out of proportion. If you haven't slept, if you haven't ate, these things can feel even more intense. And again, things can feel like the end of the world, like, oh my gosh, this email went out. I can't eat lunch. I just need to work through this. But in fact, nourishing your body, taking rest allows you to show up with more presence, which in turn avoids future mistakes to be made, but also allows you a grounded perspective. Because again, you're going to want to be mindful with Mercury and the Sun in Gemini. Gemini is quick, right? It's a quick energy. And even with Venus and Mars in Leo, it's a very fiery, passionate energy. It's important to not get ahead of yourself, especially with the Taurus moon. It's like, okay, that wasn't ideal. How are we going to fix this? One step at a time. Some of us will just be feeling this Mercury square Saturn energy as just feeling blah. Just feeling blah, not feeling excited, wanting to dream, but it's like everything kind of feels like it sucks. Again, with the Taurus moon trining Pluto, it's like, what can I do to make myself feel better? Do I need to get outside? Do I need to eat something? Like sometimes we have blah days and they're just blah days. It's not saying you can necessarily shoot up to bliss the moment that you step outside, but ask yourself, what is going to genuinely take care of me right now so I can view things differently? Do I need to create art? Do I need to work out? Like what would support my world? And then that evening, the moon enters Gemini, which will be the sign of the new moon, which exacts Saturday night, Sunday morning. So on Friday, June 16th, I wish I could tell you that the Saturn energy is done. It almost is, but not quite yet, as the Gemini moon does square off with Saturn Pisces in the morning time. And this is, again, feeling a little bit blah or a little bit restricted emotionally, kind of a bad start to the day, okay? And it's just important to keep perspective. It's a bad day. It's a bad email newsletter. It's not a bad life, okay? Your emotions and your mind might be telling you otherwise. So important to keep perspective. And a really helpful part of keeping perspective is doing things that make you happy. Again, we have the passion planets, Venus and Mars in Leo. So doing what charges up your life force. What charges you up? Is it time in nature? Is it eating delicious food? Time with loved ones? You cannot allow the snafus and the inconveniences and the ouches this week to consume you. Process what's coming up, but please know that there's a separation around this challenging circumstance has nothing to do with you personally as a soul. All you can do is learn from it at this moment. Every time I get an email that's like, oops, regarding our last email, like, you know, a link was wrong, or I got one the other day, I think it was from Nordstrom or something, and the subject line was like test, and I was like, uh-oh, I know an intern or marketing coordinator is being called into the office right now. Like I just send them a little prayer because I'm like, oh, that's such a uncomfy feeling to be behind a computer and realize a message went out that you cannot retract. Because that's the thing about emails, you cannot retract it. That's the thing about all sorts of messages and communication, you cannot retract it. And with that Mercury square Saturn, sometimes those words are A, wrong, a typo, or B, hurtful, harsh. Once you say something, you can't unsay it. Once you send an email, you can't unsend it. Maybe you can. I'm not that technologically savvy. But in my day, when I was working in marketing, we couldn't unsend them. That's why it's important this week to be intentional with your choice of words. Because once you say something, you can't unsay it. And you never know how your words will land. You could have meant it with all of the care in your heart, giving constructive criticism, but what if your words were what reverberates in that person's brain around, well, Haley said that my chart is really extra. Am I like really extra? Like again, it's important to be intentional with the words that we choose, because once we say something, we can't unsay it. And with Mercury and Gemini, we have a lot to say, okay? So all I want to say, think before you tweet, think before you send, check before you send. It's not that Mercury is retrograde. Mercury is direct. It's a new terrain. It's covering new arena of the sky. With the energy of it squaring Saturn and Saturn stationing retrograde the following day, there can be unintentional effects of our words that we did not intend. Maybe I was just talking about your chart and I was like, yeah, over the top. And you took those words as like, oh my gosh, she's saying I'm like too much. And it's like, no, that's not totally what I was saying. Like again, with Mercury and Gemini being clear and concise with our language, because it's holding a heavier weight here. So if you're sending anything, if you're saying anything, be intentional with what words you say. Ensure that your heart is in what it is that you're sharing with all of this Leo energy. We all accidentally mess up with our language and whatnot. So it's not saying to be scared of life as you navigate this week. Just be intentional, just be mindful, just check in, because Saturn is the planet of karma. It's stationing retrograde the following day. So what it is that we have sown, we will reap. And with Mercury squaring off with Saturn, what it is that we have said, we will have to process. So that tweet that you sent could have negative implications. That comment you said offhand to your friend around, why are you wearing a skirt as a tube top? You're so weird. You never know how those things can reverberate within people's brains or where people can take things personally. Again, we're feeling a little ouch this week. So try not to add to the ouch. Be intentional with your words, communicate with heart. Especially with the Gemini moon conjoining Mercury on Friday around noon. Again, it's chatty, lots of messages, lots of texts, communicating with a lot of different people, making plans. Again, you might not totally be in that space because it is the waning crescent moon as we prepare for the following day's new moon. But a lot of us will be in this Gemini energy around wanting to network, wanting to connect. There can be a lot of things that we're saying. Just ensure that you're being intentional around choosing the words that feel the most true for you and your circumstance. As well as when you post, check in how you post, check in with the words used. Again, you don't need to worry about everybody's reaction to it. You just need to ensure you feel good about it. That's the essence of Saturn retrograde, is essentially, was I speaking in integrity? Was I speaking from my heart? Was I intentional? Was I present as I composed that email newsletter? Was I speaking with love as I was talking about my friend? Like again, just being intentional, because your words can have effect. So just think, would I say this if everybody knew I said this? And the reason I highlight this is simply because that dynamic is sort of emphasized by Moon on Friday, because it squares off with Saturn in the morning and then conjoins Mercury. So a lot of words are being shared, a lot of tweets, a lot of messages. You know, I love that Gemini rolls the hands and fingers, because I always think of social media with Gemini, just like messages that we send. Again, Mercury and Gemini, we have a lot of thoughts. We're overthinking. With Mercury and Gemini, with the square to Saturn and Pisces, we're hurting our own feelings with our thoughts, right? Around, I'm gonna lose my job because of this email newsletter, and this person hates my tube top skirt. They're probably not gonna be my friend. Like again, we're overthinking and we're hurting our own feelings. Was there ouch? Was there mistake? Yes, but you're making it worse by continuing to beat yourself up about it. I'm gonna butcher this parable, but it bears repeating. There is a parable about two monks, and monks aren't meant to touch women, I believe. And there was a woman who had to cross the river. She asked if they could help her cross the river. So one of the monks picked her up, took her across the river, put her down. The monks keep walking, and the monk said, that wasn't right. We're not supposed to pick up women. Like, how do you feel good about yourself? The monk said, I put her down at the end of the river. You're still holding on to her. Again, we can hold on to things after they happen, because beating ourselves up, oh, that sucked, oh, that was the worst, oh, that was the worst. There was like the initial, ouch, oh my gosh, that typo was the worst, that piece of criticism was the worst, but we beat ourselves up just in a loop, just like, oh, that was the worst, that was the worst, that was the worst. Be mindful, break the loop, do what it is that you can to break the loop. Whether on Friday, having a conversation with a friend at noon, like again, there can be something helpful in words, or being able to process or like brain dump on someone, like this is why I'm upset, or even into a voice memo, or journaling, just processing what's moving within you. This would be aligned to work with others. The Gemini moon then sextiles Venus and Leo. So again, there's harmony. Like this would be the vibe in the vibe check, where you can get together with your coworkers. Now you guys are all laughing. You're like, can you believe the blank starts here? How silly is that, right? Being able to bond and find the humor in it and connect. Maybe this would be the energy where it's like the end of the week, you solved it, you guys got the new nail polish formulated, you dealt with all the adrenaline rush of trying to like fix all the things and handle all the things, and at the end of the weekend, you're just like, okay, let's go out to dinner, let's enjoy ourselves. That week was a lot. And that aspect exacts at 1:57. So you'll feel it in the evening time, but the good vibes could start to kick in at 2. So if you need to plan like a teamwork thing with your, with your coworkers, or a play date or something of nature, we're in the mood to connect and harmonize and chat. If you're not hermiting away before the new moon, which can be the case, but whether you are chatting with yourself, journaling, and doing nice, pleasurable things for yourself with a sextile to Venus, or in the mood to connect with other people, if that helps you get out of your head by just being around other people, bouncing ideas off other people, laughing about the subject line with other people, there's a desire to process in a mental or intellectual way what is swirling within you, as well as enjoy life with the sextile to Venus in Leo. So on Saturday the 17th, early in the day, the moon will sextile Mars and will sextile Chiron. So again, there's some healing balm. Yes, there's the Saturn energy where it's like, oh, I'm so in this experience. I'm so at this nail polish job. I wanted this new job. I got a rejection. That's another part of Mercury square Saturn. So you can feel rejected in some way. But again, there's this healing balm around this current experience is not all that I will be. And I want to say, if a lot of emotions are coming to the surface during the dark moon phase, a lot can come to the surface. And if a lot comes to the surface, I always say, I'm like, that means this is an extra potent new moon for you. Because if a lot comes up right before a new moon, that means energetically you are shedding a lot of energy before the new moon that evening, Sunday morning, depending on where you are in the world. Also pay attention to when you are feeling motivated to randomly clean your house, get rid of a lot of stuff, right? When you are feeling motivated to delete a bunch of photos off your computer, or clean out your garage right before a new moon. Firstly, that means you are aligned with the cosmos. Secondly, that might be an extra important new moon for you, because you're feeling this call around tying up loose ends. That means a new beginning is starting within your world. So embrace the emotions too, because a lot can come to the surface for the purpose of releasing them for a new start. So there does feel to be a healing balm just with the Gemini moon sextiling Chiron occurring in the morning. Also that morning, Mercury and Gemini will sextile Venus and Leo, which is great for a breakfast date. Again, there's a sweetness to our words and to our language. It's like a healing balm, like a sweet little healing balm over, the square to Saturn, which was a little harsh, right? With the sextile to Venus, this would be like, if there was a tube top skirt comment, your friend being like, I'm so sorry, you rock, it looks good on you. I just think it's funny and quirky that you wear skirts as tube tops, or I love how unique you are in your set. Like again, there's a healing balm over the words that could have hurt. Or with this energy, it could be, your boss sending a little message at the end of the week being like, okay, that was not ideal, but you did great. You handled it, you fixed it, we're doing good. Again, there's like some sweetness here. Would be a great time to write somebody a little letter, okay? Do people write letters? This would be a great time to write a letter or pen a sweet text, okay? Slide in the DMs with heart eyes or something. There's a flirtiness to our words and to messaging. Would be a great time to post some content. Honestly, like I said, with Mercury and Gemini, we're in the mood to connect, and with Venus and Leo, we're in the mood to harmonize and show off a little bit, so helpful there. Saturn does station retrograde, and Saturn is the planet of diligence, of karma, and when it switches directions, again, it's not literally hurling itself backwards through space. Simply from our vantage point, it appears as though it is moving backwards within degrees, but essentially it's a flip in direction. So rather than moving forward, right, our focus upon moving forward with the energy of Saturn, what is it that we are building? With the flip retrograde, it's almost this energy around, okay, how can we be using our energy to build more efficiently? It's an attunement to our processes. So again, in the vibe check, this is What are the processes we need to get in place to ensure this does not happen again? What are the boundaries we need to say? Like maybe it's saying to your friend, hey, I don't appreciate when you criticize my tube top skirt. Like, let's just make a boundary within our friendship that I don't particularly want to hear your thoughts on my fashion. Like with Saturn retrograde, it's not so much that we're phrasing and dealing with the past necessarily, but we are reflecting around, okay, how have we built our lives up to this point? And will what's gotten us here get us to the next level? Do we have the habits in place? Do we have the discipline in place, the processes in place, right? The safeguards in place, the boundaries in place in order to get there? There's a review. We're looking inward and asking, what am I committed to building day in and day out? So I will say some of you will be really contemplating your habits and if they're getting you to where it is that you want to go, right? And with Saturn retrograde, again, no fear. But all I'm saying is Saturn is the planet of karma. So on the lower end, if you've been doing shady stuff, all I'm saying is that Saturn is revisiting territories of the sky that it has already made its way through. So if there are certain actions that you're like, oops, hope nobody finds out about that, or like, oops, hope that doesn't come back to haunt me. All I'm saying is Saturn it's tracing its steps. It's checking once again. Now on the higher vibration, this can also be finally feeling rewarded for past efforts. If there is something that you feel like you've worked so tirelessly on and you're like, where are the rewards? Where is my prize? Like, I've just been working day in and day out. Saturn is revisiting those efforts. Saturn is revisiting that diligence. And here's the thing, Saturn may be a malefic, but in my opinion, as like a Saturn conjunct Sun girly, Saturn can be a benefic if you work with it, in that it does give rewards. It does give good things. I've had really amazing things in my life happen during Saturn transits, like to my chart. I've had some really challenging things, but I've had some amazing things. And what I've observed is the amazing things happen when it is something that I've been really working towards. Like again, with the Saturn energy, it's around choosing to show up day in and day out. It's choosing to show up, even if every part in you, after you see your mistake in the email, wants to run away and not fess up to your, I almost said crime, fess up to your mistake. Saturn is the energy around taking accountability, showing up, being responsible, getting your processes in place that will support you moving forward or prevent you from that same mistake or from that same comment being made. The thing about outer planet retrogrades is that they're not the biggest deal. Like the outer planets are more retrograde out of the year than they are direct. So it's not the biggest deal for our personal lives. What I will say is we do feel planets deeply when they change directions. So we could feel the somber energy painting over the weekend with the Saturn energy. We could be really deeply aware of time. We could be really deeply aware of ramifications and consequences of our actions, right? It's fascinating that we have this very somber Saturnian vibe in the air. So we could be feeling more intense. We could be feeling more serious. We can be feeling more pressure. We could be feeling more weighted by the way that things are. But keep in mind, you have a planet on your other shoulder, okay, who's been dormant all week, but it's coming in hot over the weekend, and that is Neptune. You can be grounded in where it is that you are now while optimistic about where it is that you are going. Don't allow the reality, the Saturn of the matter, to suck you in so deeply that you forget to dream, that you forget to remember that in a year from now, your circumstances can be so much different. Editing Haley again. Can you even believe that out of all of the words that I have said thus far within this video, I forgot some very important words, and that is the Gemini New Moon lands on Saturday, June 17th at 9:37 p.m. PDT. This means for most it'll land early Sunday, June 18th morning, or perhaps even later in the day. You can get your Gemini New Moon all signs forecast here to see what is transpiring within your chart, within your universe. This new moon squares Neptune and sextiles the North Node, and the ruler of this new moon is Mercury, who's squaring Saturn and sextiling Venus, which will be very much interwoven into the topics that I'll talk about now. And that's the ask of the Gemini new moon. To yes, observe where it is that you are within reality. Okay. Within reality, I'm working for this nail polish company. I made this mistake. I got this feedback. I got this criticism. Is there value in it? Sure. Did it hurt a little bit? Yes. It's being in reality. We need to stay grounded, but it's also being able to dream of where it is that you are going, to be able to dream around, I can't wait until I work for a company that's more aligned with my, values. Not that I'm against nail polish, but I'm so excited to work for ocean conservation or whatever it is. Like with the Neptune energy, yes, it's a little delusional, okay, but it's helping envision where it is that we want to go. And sometimes that can be a self-preservation strategy. My Pisces is showing. Like that certainly got me through certain times when I was rooted in my reality. It felt like the current iteration of my journey was all it would ever be. Like that's how it feels when you do feel stuck in something. Whether it's a job, a contract, a relationship, like you're just like, this is all that it's going to be. And with Mercury square Saturn, Saturn's on your shoulder being like, yeah, this is all it's going to be. Like it's very negative. But the new moon beckons around, this is part of the journey. This is not all that you are. Tune into what's inspiring you at this moment. Because with this energy of Saturn stationing retrograde and this new moon squaring Neptune on the same day, it just reminds me of this time in my life in which I had this job that was incredibly mentally draining. Like I'm talking multiple breakdowns a week. I'm talking always on, my boss always hitting me up. I had horrible boundaries, very volatile, explosive moods. And I took those on, or I felt like they were my problem to like manage the moods of the situation. Very volatile, very up and down, either best friend, worst enemy. It was too much. Okay, the boundaries were not great. And again, with the Saturn energy, I just felt so stuck. I literally could not even sharpen and focus. I was like, how am I going to get out of this situation? Right? How am I going to, because like contractually, it was like so many different things were keeping me in that particular step of my journey. And again, I am so grateful. I learned so many lessons, but what I will say is it's incredibly hard on my mental health. Yes, I could have been better about my boundaries. There's a lot of things that I could have done differently, but it was very hard on me. It was very hard on me. I just constantly lived in anxiety that my phone would go off. Now, whenever I check my phone, like still to this day, if I check my phone and there are no messages, I feel such relief. I feel so joyous. Like even still, like I think most people look at their phone and be like, dang, it's so dry. Whenever there's no notifications, I'm just like, oh, because I just remember waking up, checking, and there'd be like 27 missed calls, 3 minutes, and just so much panic. I was like, what's gonna go wrong? What's the mood? What's the vibe? What did I do wrong? Oh my gosh. And I just felt like that was all it was going to be. There was many different circumstances that I felt like I couldn't leave that particular job. And I remember I would, to cope, have set hours. It was just basically whenever stuff was going down, right? In addition to my typical tasks. But I really got into walking. Like I used to be really into running, but randomly at this time, I think I just needed some peace and calm. I'm like, girl, let's just take a second because this is a lot. And I got really into walking and I got really into podcasts, which I really hadn't been into prior. I was mostly like a YouTube girly. Particularly, I listened to podcasts of very inspiring or influential entrepreneurs. Like I just needed positive stimuli in my brain around what it is that I could step into or around stepping into the next thing because I just felt so rooted. It was a Pisces that couldn't dream. Like I couldn't even conceptualize. I was like, do I need to go back to a 9 to 5? Even though in that job, I mean, I was working way more than a 9 to 5, but I was like, do I need to go back into a corporate environment? Like what's going to get me out of this? Like I just needed some brain food, right? To like help me to start dreaming again. Because I felt so consumed by the reality that I wasn't even able to dream, which is shocking as Pisces. But anyways, so I would walk to these podcasts, turn my phone on, do not disturb. It wasn't great, but I was like, I deserve 1 hour where I know I'm not going to hear from my boss. So I would walk to these podcasts, and one that I would listen to was Manifesting Money Podcast. It used to be called Makeup Mentor Podcast. That's when I started listening to it, was when it was Makeup Mentor. And I don't know how I came across it. I'm not a makeup artist. She was talking about manifestation and stuff. And I just liked her energy. I would walk around, didn't know who she was or where she was located. Found her on TikTok, followed her on TikTok, posted a TikTok that she was hiring for marketing positions in San Diego. I was walking around San Diego not knowing that she was filming 8 minutes from my house. I didn't even know she was in San Diego. It was so wild. So I just like shot my shot in the comments. It had been posted like a month prior around her looking for people. So I was like, I know I'm a month late, but I just found you on TikTok. I've been loving the pod. I would love to come interview. I got the job, and it was honestly such a blessing. And again, I was basically looking for the vision. I was looking for inspiration for anything just to survive. Because when you're so rooted in that, it's like, this is all that it's going to be. I'm going to wake up to all of these messages for the rest of my life. I'm going to be completely at the will of this person's emotions. Like, that's just what my life's gonna be. So all I'm saying, if you are in a circumstance where your reality at this moment, whether it's at work or with love or what have you, it feels crushing, please remember to dream about what could be. Okay, please remember to give your brain positive stimuli, whether it's reading books about what it is that you want, the shifts that you want, listening to podcasts about what it is that you want. Give your brain some new stimuli so that you're able to kind of get into that creative space around what could be. Do not let the reality to suck you up. It will not be like this forever. Your life can look so different within a year. It's important to safeguard whatever helps you get into that vision around it doesn't always need to be like this. I could have a relationship that respects me, right? I could have a friend group. I could live somewhere different. Give your brain different things to envision the dream. Will everything pan out exactly as you want it to? Not necessarily, but at least you're dreaming. And if you're dreaming, that means you have faith in the future and that tomorrow can look different than today and that spirit does hear your prayers. Spirit, universe, here's your prayers. I mean, I just remember that job. I would pray so much. I would get readings all the time. I'm like, how do I get out? How do I get out? How do I get out? Right? And then things just aligned, right? Because I was consciously fueling my brain around, we've got to figure something out. We've got to learn about something. We've got to do something. This is not right. We're having multiple meltdowns a week. Let's envision the future. Because again, there was a lot of podcasts I listened to that were entertaining, sure, but I didn't start working for them, right? And that was such a great opportunity, honestly, because my whole hesitation about just not quitting outright, again, there was like contractual things. It was a whole thing, okay? It's a whole thing. But I didn't feel like my astrology business had built up to a point where it'd be able to sustain me and all of my needs. I didn't want to put pressure on this passion by, going all in when I didn't feel ready. Like, I really wanted to make sure when I transitioned to full-time, I felt ready. And gratefully, working for that podcast really not only taught me a lot, but also really provided me the space to be able to build my business until I felt I was in a good place to go full-time. And now I'm full-time, and I literally thank my lucky stars every single day. And I think it was all perfect and aligned that is the story that came through. Again, I don't plan these at all, guys. I just sit down and vibe. But I think that's so aligned that was the story that came through today. Because again, you guys saw me. I was kind of in a bad mood. Okay, everything felt annoying. But a bad day in this life, okay, is better than the best day in that life. And I need to be grateful for that. And all I want to say is, if you are in a bad situation, please believe your life can be so different in a year. Learn all the lessons that you can now from this iteration of reality. Please remember to dream about what could be. Things are constantly changing. Spirit hears your prayers, okay? Things could just need to align in accordance to divine timing. And the cosmos and I are cheerleading you on, okay? You've got this. On Sunday the 18th, there's a very dreamy, nostalgic vibe over the astrology. One thing I want you to be conscious of is that it is Sunday and the sun will square Neptune. Now, I have an interesting relationship with Neptune. Here's the upside that I want you to reach for, and then I'll break down the downside that you need to be mindful of. Upside, very creative. This is very imaginative. This is really being able to go with the flow and connect to muse in order to create beautiful things. With this energy of Sun square Neptune, it's like you're more spiritually inclined. You could be looking at your meltdown from middle of the week from the email and be like, that is not a big deal. We are literally on a rock, hurling through space. Like, what matters? Right? Like, we're getting perspective. We're tuning into our spirit. We're tuning into our intuition. On the downside, it can create a lot of confusion. You can be oscillating emotionally quite a bit. The moon's in Cancer all day. So oscillating from moments around, I feel so strongly about this, to the next moment being like, well, now I'm not so sure. I so wanted to do this, and like, now I'm not so sure. Or even just confused about who you are, what you want. And while Neptune energy is helpful for tapping in spiritually, I want you to know that when it comes to spirituality, there's definitely a limit. Okay, with Sun square Neptune, it could be this energy in which we're just looking for clarity, because things can feel so murky with Neptune aspects where it's like, what am I doing? I'm so stuck in this. Where am I going? What am I doing? And obviously, I work in the spiritual field. I think readings can provide a lot of clarity. It can provide a lot of validation. It can provide a lot of reinforcement. It can provide a lot of helpfulness, obviously. But I also want to say, with Sun square Neptune, sometimes it can make things even more murky. Like, if you're going from reading to reading to reading, looking for clarity, this is a time in which things are just getting foggier and foggier the deeper that you dive in. stillness is necessary. Again, we're in Gemini season, so there's a temptation. The trash was here. I am back yet again. The trash came yet again, and then my camera died yet again. So we are just having an interesting Magic Monday, and if this is your first Magic Monday, I am typically not this much of a hot mess, I swear to you, but it makes sense. It's kind of like a inconvenience snafu sort of week, so it makes sense that there's a lot of inconveniences and snafus in recording. But all I want to say with the energy of Sun square Neptune, I hope that's what I was talking about, I don't even remember, but with the energy of Sun square Neptune, there can be this desire for clarity, but the thing is, sometimes we need stillness. This desire for Gemini, again, we're overthinking, we're trying to figure it all out. Sometimes things can't be figured out by the mind, they need to just be unfurled by the soul. They need to just be felt by the soul. Like again, me walking around listening to podcasts, yes, I was feeding my brain all of this interesting content, but the universe was working its magic. It was bringing together circumstances and people, because when we look for all this clarity around what's going to happen, or like, what does this mean, or like, what's happening, sometimes you just got to be still. Like, it gives very much that energy. Let's say you're looking over at a pond and you like go like this in the water, trying to make your way to the bottom, like, what's to the bottom? But you can't see to the bottom until everything settles, until there's stillness. And that's the ask with Sun square Neptune. There can just be a desire to get lost in more readings, or like overthinking. I need to figure it all out right now, right? I feel so confused. I feel so lost. I need to figure it out with my mind. This is not something that could be figured out with your mind. The soul and the universe is playing out and putting things together that you couldn't have even conceptualized. Again, me working for that podcast that I found on Spotify, I couldn't have designed that even if I tried. Right? The universe has infinite more intelligence than I do. Like, within our mortal brains, we cannot even conceptualize all of the magic, all of the synchronicities that will come together for you to live out your path. Okay? It is not your job to figure it out. Your job is to stay open to the lessons right now. Your job is to feed yourself new stimuli around what your vision is. Feed the dream, feed the dream. How it is that you get there and how exactly it plays out, that's the universe's job. You don't need to figure it all out. So just being mindful on Sun square Neptune, whether you're like going deep on pick a card readings, okay, I've been there, I have been there. I've been there. Or wanting more clarity, trying to figure it out, overthinking. Sometimes we just need to be confused. Sometimes we just need to sit in the confusion and just know things are transpiring beyond my awareness. And also with Sun square Neptune, definitely be mindful with the wine. Like, okay, it's very helpful to get lost in music and movies and art, but we can't have this call to escape. We're wanting to kind of like check out. Again, with all that confusion, we could be like, I'll be feeling more sure about myself after a glass of wine. Just be cautious. Neptune is a siren's call, right? Things always look more alluring than they actually are. That bottle of wine might look very alluring, but the next morning you hit the rocks, right, of the sirens. So just being conscious, it's good to have dreams and art and things that attune us to the bigger picture, especially if you had a bad week. Like, I think a couple of us are going to have a bad week. Again, it's a bad week. It's not a bad life. It's bad days. It's not a bad life. It's all in perspective. There's lots of beauty everywhere, because Neptune can make us very emotional. We could be feeling things very intensely. The moon is in Cancer, so we could be feeling ups and downs. And again, Neptune is a lack of clarity. So at one moment you could be feeling so sure about this, and the next moment it's like a kaleidoscope. Everything changes and now it looks different. And Neptune energy is so unsettling, because you'll feel so certain about something and then all of a sudden you feel so differently about it. So all I want to say is stillness is helpful, art is helpful, allowing the emotions that come through, avoid escapism. It is Father's Day, so I just want to say happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. But I also want to say this can be a holiday that brings up a lot of complicated emotions. A lot of holidays can. And I just want to say that just because with Sun square Neptune, it just feels like a lot of people could want to be like escaping or numbing. And again, give yourself constructive ways of tuning into the big picture. Tune into your spirit, tune into art, music that moves you. And with the Cancer moon trining Saturn and sextiling Jupiter, this is a great day for nostalgia, to spend time with family if that is part of your plans, to anchor down into home, to, have traditions, or maybe for you it's to make new traditions. Maybe it's do things that make you feel at home with your pets or what have you. Just with Sun square Neptune, just being conscious of where it is that you're trying to check out with the emotions that Cancer moon is surely bringing to the surface. And maybe even with the Neptune energy, where it is that you can kind of sit with what's coming up, whether it's sit with what your intuition is telling you, sit with what your emotions are telling you. The Neptune energy, again, it's a siren's call around Let's drink to avoid it, party to avoid it. There's a valuable quality of stillness that can be necessary on Sundays. So my loves, we did it. There were moments that I did not think this Magic Monday was going to be complete because of all the issues that I had. So the Magic Monday mantra of the week is, I maintain perspective. We are in an air sign season. Air is above, right? So it's so important to maintain perspective. Think about climbing a mountain. When you get to the top, you look down, everything looks so small. We have to do that with our life every so often. And I think that's the beauty of Sun square Neptune over the weekend, the new moon over the weekend, is to take a moment to kind of check out from the day to day, all the Saturn energy, all of our reality. Things can feel heavy. To take a moment to look at our life from above and really reflect upon, where am I feeling inspired? What is feeling really good? Where am I excited to grow into? And just maintaining perspective on our problems, on the inconveniences. Let's be real, life is really annoying. Life can be really annoying, but I promise to you, it is not the end of the world. Ask yourself, will I still be tripping about this in a year's time, 2 years' time, 3 years' time? Continue to maintain perspective around what it is that you're moving through, because I promise you, your life can look radically different in a year. Keep perspective. Know that you're a part of a much bigger journey that's playing out. If you're feeling stuck where it is that you are now, know that this new moon provides a dreamy new start around where it is that you are going, beginning to sharpen in the vision around, I don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but I know this inspires me. I don't know exactly what it looks like, but I know I need to hear from these sort of people. Again, attuning to those elements of resonance, because when you find resonant voices, resonant people, resonant art, again, it's all clues. It's all clues. Like if you're feeling lost, I've been there. Neptune energy can make us feel so lost, so confused. And again, your job isn't to figure out, okay, I'm gonna do the nail polish job for 6 months. Again, sometimes it's nice to have a plan, but things are gonna shift and change. You never know how things are gonna evolve. Maybe the nail polish company gets bought. Maybe there's a way better opportunity that comes up sooner. Your job is just to pay attention to lessons right now, continue to sharpen the vision around, oh, that would be so cool, or like, oh, that so inspires me. And notice those moments of resonance. Notice those moments of resonance. Like for me, when I listened to that particular podcast, there's just something within me that I was like, ooh, this person, I just connect with her. I just get her. And there's some level of resonance there. So I continued to listen. I followed the breadcrumbs. Like universe put that podcast into my pathway for a reason. I tuned into that resonance, and by following the breadcrumbs of what was inspiring me, of who I felt on the same wavelength with, by the desires that were sharpening into focus, by the art that's resonating with you right now. Like again, these are all clues. Follow the breadcrumbs, continue to feed the dream, but know that the universe has its own unique pathway to get there. And you're in the process, as annoying as things can be in the interim. If possible, if it's available, laugh at it. Like, you gotta admit, the subject line, the garbage trucks, the flies, the vacuum, it is a little funny. That's how we navigate Gemini season, is we laugh. We laugh so we don't cry. So my loves, if you made it to the end of the forecast, drop a fly emoji below, or write the word fly. If you're on desktop, write the word fly into a sentence. That's something I used to do on Magic Monday, and it was fun. So if you can work fly organically into a sentence, I would love to hear that below. My Instagram handle is @Astrology. My TikTok is the same. So my loves, until we meet again, drink lots of water, stay